What is Ben Shapiro doing on CNN? And he probably did not expect to get called out for his support for Israel and all the money we send to Israel to support them and all the big wars that we support them in. It's Sean Daniel here, and this is a great, real conversation that we can all relate to. Me, you, Ben Shapiro, Anna Kasparian, Scott Jennings, even Abby Phillips, because it has to do with money, our career, and our happiness. And it's a very, very real conversation. I think you will enjoy it. Let's go.
Tonight, a provocative take from Ben. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. It's a debate that's underscored with new polling showing that Americans are struggling. 70% of the country believes that the American dream is dead, which is a 15-year high. And only 25% say that they have a good chance of improving their standard of living. That is the lowest number on record since they started the surveys in 1987, which brings us back to the age-old debate. When should you retire? Ben, you're going to be kicking at 69 years old doing this thing?
I mean, the life expectancy, if you make it to 65 and you're a dude, is now 83. So the real question that I was asking is, when should the government pay you to retire? Which is a sort of a different question than when should you retire. When you should retire is sort of a personal question, and also it depends on your definition of retirement. I don't think that, you know, if your goal is to be 65 and sitting on a beach for the rest of your life doing nothing, that the social science tends to say that's not very good for you. You actually should be involved in your community and get involved and still have a side job and all the rest of that. But if we really believe that we can't raise the retirement age and we're never going to change that, we will go bankrupt. And all the talk about cutting at the margins, you know, whatever Doge is doing, that's not going to touch the real driver of the systemic debt in the United States. Women are living to 85 if you make it to 65. Men are living to 83 if you make it to 65. That's 20 years on the public dime.
When you're talking about, hold on, when you're talking about the government paying, you're talking about Social Security,
Yes.
which is people's money?
Well, it is. Well, it is not the money you paid in.
It's the system that they pay into.
Well, no,
you're
you're
every paycheck stub.
Yes, but believe me, I pay a lot in my
I
Social
pay into
Security.
Social Security. I don't know about you.
I promise you,
but...
the amount that people are taking out is not the amount that is going in, which is why we are going bankrupt.
Okay, but it's not the government just handing out a blank check.
No, it's the government
people
borrowing money to
into
pay.
the Social Security
You pay
system.
in X dollars, and then you get multiple times X dollars when you retire. That is how the system works. It is not a lockbox. This is what Al Gore was arguing about in 2000.
The other part of this, though, is at 65, right? I mean, yeah, you might be in great health, but many people are working hard jobs. They're on their feet.
It depends on what job.
I'm not saying if you're working back-breaking labor and your leg is falling off that you should be.
By the way, I just totally reject what you just said about how we're going bankrupt due to Social Security. Really, you don't think like the trillions of dollars we've spent on wars in the Middle East might have something to do with that?
It is not even
our
remotely a
national
percentage
debt.
of what we spend on Social
Our
Security.
national debt shot up significantly after 9/11, after we started invading countries in the Middle East.
You should look at a chart of
Now
our
we're at
national
30.
debt. In 2008,
we're spending
it went
hundreds of billions of dollars on Israel, on Ukraine. I mean, honestly, these foreign conflicts have a lot more to do with our national debt as
hell they
opposed
do
to
by the
us
numbers. That
paying
is
into
just
the
untrue.
Social
You
Security
think
system.
Israel is a bigger portion of our budget than Social Security, Medicare,
I think we
Medicaid?
spend way too much money on
just asking as a
military
mathematical
aid
matter.
for
Numbers
foreign
thing.
countries.
You think
Absolutely.
Israel is more
Do
than
you
Social
think
Security?
that Social Security is more of an issue compared to how much money we just shell out for conflicts abroad?
As a matter of
Look,
expenditures and math,
that
yes.
both entitlements and defense.
Uh-oh, she said the I word. She said Israel in front of Ben Shapiro. Uh-oh, I didn't know you were allowed to do that. But Ben has a point. According to Google, the U.S. paid out $1.3 trillion in 2023 in Social Security benefits, compared to $99 billion sent out in foreign aid by the United States in that same year. That's less than 10% of what we paid out in Social Security. And even if Scott Jennings is correct on knowing the numbers compared to Anna Kasparian, she might actually win more of public support just by that statement and asking Ben Shapiro about how much money we give out in foreign aid. Because many Americans are sick of paying into Social Security, and if they retire, they want to get the money from Social Security. But we don't feel like we pay into foreign wars that have nothing to do with us. At least with Social Security, we will get that money back when we retire, hopefully. But all the taxpayer money that goes to foreign wars, a lot of people don't support that. A lot of people think that that doesn't even affect my life, and it's a waste of the government money. And it's a waste of my money, because I'm the taxpayer.
Because for those of us sitting at this table where we're sitting around yapping our mouths and getting a paycheck, most Americans are not doing that. Arthur Brooks, who some of you might know, had an interesting piece in The Atlantic years ago, and he wrote this: "The data are shockingly clear that for most people in most fields, professional decline starts earlier than almost anyone thinks. If your profession requires mental processing speed or significant analytical capabilities, the kind of profession most college graduates occupy, noticeable decline is probably going to set in earlier than you imagine." For some fields...
Don't take it personally, Scott.
Why are you guys
I've noticed.
I'm in my
Scott Van, I hate to break it to you. Surgeons, pilots,
Pundits?
okay? Pundits, mandatory retirement ages, okay? Because after 56,
Yeah, exactly.
you cannot be an air traffic controller because there is a limit on human capacity, right?
Land
So
the
why
plane,
are we
man.
then saying to people, well, even though we know that there are limits to this, oh, you must work until you are 83 years old?
Well, I don't have a dog in this fight. I do think that backs give out faster than brains do. So people who have back-breaking jobs, they probably give out even faster than those of us who have brain jobs. But there's another factor here, which is comparatively, technology is probably going to hurt more than it helps, at least soon. Because however smart you think you are, you're not as smart as artificial intelligence.
Right.
And so I think that one of the reasons why all this food fight going on between progressives and conservatives is dangerous. This is the moment where you're going to have a bigger gap because blue-collar jobs are going to be done by robots and white-collar jobs are going to be done by AIs. And guess what? You can't blame billionaires and you can't blame immigrants and you can't blame straight white dudes and you can't blame, you're going to have a real answer. And right now, neither party does.
So a Wall Street Journal poll, most Americans not confident they can buy a home.
Right.
Most are, 46% are not confident they can pay for an unexpected medical expense. 52% not confident that they have enough retirement savings. That's without the Social Security piece of it, probably.
I mean, you would think that if you'd lived through the last few years of inflation, you probably have it in your mind that things are only going to get more expensive, and you start to project 30 and 40 years down the road, and you'd be well-founded in thinking, I'm not going to have enough money. It's an American dream question. I think for a lot of people, there's two things about the American dream, at least there is for me. There's making enough money to provide for your family and to retire, but then there's also the question of, am I adding value to my community? Am I adding value to my country? Am I providing value wherever I've chosen to live and raise my family? And I think in our society right now, there is a lurch toward preaching easy money. What are we telling people? You can get rich quick in crypto or sports gaming. We'll put it in your pocket and don't worry, it's easy. It's easy as just signing up. And I think when you start to take the value that you could provide as a human being to your community and taking that out of it and preaching sort of these easy routes, I don't know, I think it sucks some of the soul out of the conversation about the American dream. The American dream is about value as a human being.
And this is where Ben Shapiro's statement of raising the age of when you can start getting Social Security, it's not going to get a lot of support because we care that we've paid into that stuff. We want to see some benefit. We don't care about, I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself. You don't care. I wouldn't care about improving the national debt by raising the age in which I can get Social Security, which means I would miss out on Social Security. People don't care about that stuff. People feel like they're struggling, and someone like Ben Shapiro, other CNN panelists, they've still had to work. They probably went to school. They had to try to get up the corporate ladder, make a name for themselves, but they haven't had, at least in a while probably, the struggle that middle-class Americans deal with, lower-class Americans deal with, where you feel like you have all this pressure for your paycheck. So then to promote that, hey, we need to raise the age of when you can get Social Security, I don't know how that would get any support from middle-class people.
By that token, the idea that you should be working for a paycheck up until you die, I think is unfounded because I think that there's something. I'm just saying there is a lot of value that people need to give back to their communities. We should probably, we actually should be paying them.
I would love
to work
do
in their
so many
communities, to
things
volunteer at the library, to work with younger kids.
There are things I want to do that are not going. Like if I were to quit my career and pursue the things I want to do, like for instance, I want to volunteer in nursing homes. That's not going to make me enough money to pay my bills. So I envision retirement being, all right, I'm done with my media career. I want to do these things that I've wanted to contribute to my community for the longest time. You know, I think there's this thought that people who want to retire early or retire at 65 are just like bums who don't want to work. But people have interests that don't necessarily make money. You know, and
Including
they
their
want to
grandchildren, including their parents, including...
Well, the need for meaning is very real.
Yeah.
And by the way, you see that in the polling. In that same Wall Street Journal poll, what you see is that Americans were pretty optimistic still about their economic circumstances and the directionality all the way up until about 2020. And really in 2020, it takes a nosedive. And that's with the government spraying money at people to stay home. Right? The question there was not, do I have enough money? Because the government was literally paying people for a full year to stay home and providing student loan subsidies and providing tax breaks and doing everything that it could to ensure that you had enough money in your pocket, which led, of course, to that giant bubble in inflation. So really, a lot of this feeling, I think, is driven by a feeling of helplessness that is itself being driven by uncertainty. I think there's an enormous amount of uncertainty.
This was one of the more real takes I have heard in a long time from anyone on any of the shows that I've covered, especially coming from Ana Kasparian, who's kind of more liberal. There's so many things that we would love to do as Americans, as people overseas too. I know some of you guys are overseas, that we just enjoy. There's so many things I would think of doing, but my mind is so focused on work. How can I progress with my work? How can I streamline my processes with my work? How can I get more exposure? How can I earn more money? How can I save and properly utilize my money? How can I invest my money properly to maximize options for me, my loved ones? What can I do in the future? You're spending so much mental energy trying to be in a positive financial situation, to give yourself options, that you almost don't have mental energy and time to focus on just things that you want to enjoy. That's one thing I've noticed for myself, this transition into finally being in a more financially successful situation and more stable and profitable and at peace financial situation in a way. Your focus becomes that. And it's so consuming, like Ana Kasparian saying, that you really don't have the time or even the mental energy to focus on these passions you have that don't bring any financial benefit or career benefit to you. And because it's so hard to make it in today's age and be ahead financially and be secure and give yourself options or just pay the bills, you feel like you don't have time or energy to do these other things you enjoy. So then if you're going to tell people, oh, we're going to extend the age in which you can retire and get Social Security, who is going to support that? And if this is Ben's real position, I don't know how that's going to fall on normal middle-class Americans' ears, especially if you're going to support all the foreign wars and all the protection of Israel and all the millions of dollars that go to that. But that was so cool to hear her admit that. She would love to do more things outside of her career, even though she's on a CNN show, even though she has a big show with the Young Turks, even though she has a show with Patrick Bet-David's network. She's big time. She's been on Piers Morgan. There's still things she wishes she could do outside of her work, despite being successful and made it and having all these opportunities and all this money. That was really cool for her to admit, because a lot of us feel that way. Whether you work 40 hours at a factory, whether you're now recently retired, you can think back or you can think now, man, I understand exactly what she's saying. I believe that. And I've never heard any other conservative on a show talk like that. That was really cool. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you so much for making it this far in the video. Instead of promoting another video for you to watch, let me know in the comments your perspective on this deeper thought of a video, and I would be happy to read what you guys have to say and be excited to respond to what you think about this. Thank you.